It's been a while since this gentleman from NBC Sports and Football Morning in America, the must-read column every single week. It's great to have Peter King back on the program. How you doing, PK?
Rich Eisen, man, I was worried about you with the flooding, with the earthquake,
Yes.
with the lightning, with the thunder. Wow, how's it going?
I'm indestructible. How are you?
I knew you were.
I'm just, I woke up dangerous, so did Mother Nature, but we're good. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Greatly appreciate it.
Good.
So what are you gleaning from Seattle? We just had Greg Olson on the program, and I forced him to choose a team in the NFC that would cause him and Kevin Burkhardt to not call the same matchup in the NFC Championship game again this year. He chose Seattle. What are you gleaning from your visit?
Yeah, I think Seattle is sneaky, dangerous. I went to their game on Saturday night, and Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be a problem. And I think he's going to make instant impact. And I think Geno Smith, Rich, as you know, nobody is a fluke if you do it for a full season. He's no fluke. This guy is a good NFL quarterback. And so I would agree with Greg. I think they're going to be a dangerous team. And I think, look, everybody looks at the NFC West and hands it to San Francisco. Totally understand that. But as I wrote in my column today, the 49ers, every single year except 2019, it's the seventh year of Kyle Shanahan / John Lynch. Every single year, except 19, they've had a massive quarterback issue or issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, you never can tell what might happen. But I think Seattle is going to give the 49ers a run for it.
What is going on with the 49ers quarterback situation? And it sure looks like Purdy is no worse the wear. Sam Darnold and Trey Lance flipped when they appeared in preseason games over the last 2 weeks. What is the status as we're entering the third and final preseason week?
I was at the first practice that Brock Purdy worked for a third straight day since he had that surgery back in March. And, I wrote about it in my column today. He made a beautiful laser throw in the red zone for a touchdown to Deebo Samuel, in the practice that I saw. He told me afterwards, got no problem with his arm, feels absolutely fine. They were a little worried because he got the surgery delayed because the swelling took so long to go down, over a month. And so, but he said, absolutely, I'll be fine for the start of the season. And now, Rich, this is a guy who started 47 games, in college football in a Power 5 school at Iowa State. So he's got plenty of experience. And last year, everybody knows in the games he played at least 3 quarters, he was 8-0. And so he's the guy. The question is, who's number 2? And the day I was there, Sam Darnold takes the second snap at quarterback, the second series of snaps at quarterback, and Trey Lance was third. My guess is, and Lance can do something about this because he played well the other night, but my guess right now is that Sam Darnold's going to be number 2.
Peter King here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's going on with Jonathan Taylor and the Colts, Peter? What's happening there?
Well, Jonathan Taylor obviously is really unhappy with his situation, as are many running backs in the league. And the funny thing is someone there said it's so uncharacteristic of Jonathan Taylor to not be like the mayor of the locker room. He's a great guy. Everybody loves him. Everybody in the organization loves him. But this year he came back angry. And I just think, Rich, this has all the look to me of a situation that 3-4 days before the start of the season, they're going to find a way to shuffle some money to Jonathan Taylor so that if he's not happy, at least he won't be miserable. And so I think Chris Ballard is too smart and too good a general manager, despite their recent record, to allow this thing to fester in the season. I just think they're going to find a way to build a bridge before opening day.
Well, the thing is, that would make complete sense, obviously. But the thing is, and we don't know if this really is going to matter, but they've missed a training camp with Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson, and maybe they missed it because he's on the physically unable to perform list rather than the physically unwilling to perform list. That stands to the test of time here. But, so is Ballard kind of having a behind the scenes with Jim Irsay, whose comments in the golf cart coming off of the bus still resonates, Peter, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, Chris Ballard knows that Jim Irsay is going to say what he wants to say. He always has. He always will. If you're going to work for the Indianapolis Colts, that is something you just have to take. And I think he is just trying to massage it. And I don't believe that Jim Irsay is going to be talking about this anymore. It doesn't make any sense. Jim Irsay loves the Indianapolis Colts, and he understands now that what he said put a couple of logs onto the fire. So I'm sure, I shouldn't say I'm sure. I would be surprised if Jimmy says anything more. And I would also be surprised if Chris Ballard can't figure out a way to build the bridge.
Well, Irsay did appear in the booth during the preseason game this weekend and had verbal bouquets. It was completely different than we could all be dead tomorrow, and if we are, it doesn't matter because the NFL's still going to go on. It was a totally different tune. So you think that when it's all said and done, that's kumbaya, at least to the point where Taylor's happy to. I mean,
if you're Jonathan Taylor, you have to look at this bad situation, what you consider a bad situation.
Yes.
And you just have to ask yourself, am I going to make it any better by starting to give up game checks on September 10th? And he's not going to make it any better. So I think he's probably going to just sigh, breathe deeply, and make the best of what he feels is a bad situation.
Peter King here on the Rich Eisen Show. What is your sense of Joe Burrow's readiness, Peter?
I don't get any sense. As a matter of fact, I talked to his dad the other day. He doesn't know either. I think everybody seems to be confident that whatever it is now, 20 days from now, that Joe Burrow is going to be playing football. However, the way that the Bengals operate is they're not going to have Burrow limping on opening day. They're going to wait. And obviously you get in a pretty big hole, not just for your division, but for playoff seeding in the AFC if you come out and lay an egg without Joe Burrow against the Browns on opening day. But they will not rush Joe Burrow, and the head coach certainly will not rush Joe Burrow. Mike Brown's not going to rush him. So I am in the same boat as you and most of the people who love the Bengals. It seems logical to think that he'll play opening day. I would think it's 75-25 that he'll play opening day, but none of us have any sort of inside knowledge on what the calf feels like exactly today.
Peter King here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do we have any sense of what Russ is going to be in Sean Payton's offense? Have they held stuff back? What do you got for me here, as this is a fascinating story with Sean Payton back in the NFL and Russell Wilson needing to have a bounce-back season in the worst way, I would say, Peter?
I think Sean Payton has basically, in what he said even after his apology to Nathaniel Hackett and to the New York Jets, I think even after that apology, it's very clear why he did what he did, and that is to say, Russ, me and you against the world, baby. And so I will be surprised if Russell Wilson doesn't have a significant comeback. And, Rich, the reason why Sean Payton took this job, other than you could make light of it and say, well, there's 19 or 20 million reasons a year for the next 5 years why he took the job. But I don't think he was going to take this job if the quarterback of the team was John Doe or the quarterback of the team was what they had in their recent history. I think he's only going to take a job if there was a quarterback that he felt that he definitely had a chance to win with. And I've had enough off-the-record conversations with him, in the last few months to know that he really thinks that Russell Wilson is salvageable and is going to be okay. So as to for what they're doing right now, I believe if you look at Sean Payton's history and you look at him with Drew Brees, you know that, yes, he's going to want to throw the ball downfield without any question. But he is going to make sure that there are completions for Russell Wilson on every pass drop. So I don't know what anybody wants to do in fantasy football, but all I can say is there's going to be a couple of his receivers who are going to put up, I think, extremely good numbers. Maybe not in yards per catch. Maybe not. But in terms of, absolute production, yardage, number of catches, all that, I think he's going to have a couple of guys who are going to be really significant this year. So for people who've looked at guys like Jerry Jeudy over the years and said, man, he needs to do more, well, he's going to have every chance this year to do more.
Well, I mean, it struck me, Peter, Peyton's comments about Nathaniel Hackett and then the Gilligan hats was straight out of the Parcells playbook. And, you have had many a moon of being on the business end of a laser look from Parcells in the Giant Stadium, bowels of Giant Stadium many, many moons ago. Not too many. But that said, it seems to me Peyton thought the Broncos maybe organizationally needed just a swift kick in the ass. Peter, what's your sense?
Totally,
do you think?
Totally agree. He came in and he was totally intent on making sure that all men are created equal. And there wasn't going to be what Russell Wilson had last year. Not to say he still doesn't have a little office or, expanded cubicle or something in the building because he studies a lot in the building. But I think the special treatment for Russell Wilson, I think he thought went out of control. And I remember talking to him in the off season and him kind of verbally rolling his eyes when we were talking about the fact that he was having his own walkthroughs with his offensive players last year during training camp before practice even began. And that's just not something that's going to fly with Sean Payton.
We will see. Boy, few minutes left with Peter King here from NBC Sports Football Morning in America. All right, so final week of preseason football. Give me the team we're not talking about enough. You know what the national conversation is right now, Peter, as well as anybody. The name of an NFL team that we are not talking about enough based on your reporting and going around the country. What do you have for me?
The Atlanta Falcons.
All right.
I think that from what I saw on my trip to Flowery Branch, I would just say there is no team currently in the NFL with as many weapons that can really do a lot of damage as this team. And I just think everybody is saying, hey, Bijan Robinson, oh, my God. I had something in my column this week, Rich, about baseball players playing fantasy football. I went and interviewed Joe Musgrave the other day in San Diego at a Padres game.
Yeah.
And he was telling me that his buddy Jeff Bagwell picked Bijan Robinson third overall in his draft, the high roller draft. And I said, man, be careful. Arthur Smith has a lot of mouths to feed in Atlanta. And he's going to be good about getting a lot of them the ball. But he's not eliminating Cordero Patterson. He's not eliminating Kyle Pitts, who's had a great training camp. Tyler Algier, 1,000-yard rusher last year. Drake London, play inside or outside. This is a team with weapons. Listen, if Desmond Ridder is a B- quarterback, they got a heck of a chance to dethrone, everybody and go worst to first in the NFC South.
Wow! If you're interviewing baseball players about fantasy football, you got to get to Tommy Pham or Jock Peterson, man. Like that's the one. Or you got to speak to Musgrave. Like, are we all aware about the fantasy wire stuff here? Because we can't be slapping each other around. Like that's the sort of thing you should.
Yeah, I might be a little afraid of Tommy Pham, quite honestly.
Well, you definitely
a pretty high-strung dude.
That's right. All right, and the player. Give me the name of the player. Or screw it, quarterback. Give me the name of a quarterback we're not talking about enough entering the season, Peter, based on your roaming the country. What do you got?
The other day I was around. I spent the day around the Saints in Costa Mesa in their joint practices. And look, that was an ugly end to the Derek Carr experiment in Vegas. Mm-hmm. And had a long conversation with Dennis Allen and some of their guys, and they just think that they have got a gem who's going to play really, really well with a bunch of really good weapons. And to me, I just think, like, of all the interesting little scenarios, you remember what Derek Carr was able to do with Darren Waller. Well, there's a tight end for the Saints right now named Juwan Johnson. Played pretty well last year. Juwan Johnson, I think, I'm not saying he's going to be Darren Waller at his peak in Vegas, but he's going to have a chance to catch a lot of footballs because that offense is going to be very tight end friendly in New Orleans. So I don't know. Maybe Derek Carr. We'll see.
Well, Carr definitely has a chip on his shoulder. I mean, maybe the largest shoulder chip there is in the NFL, for sure, based on the way things ended in Vegas. Him talking about his wife crying. He even said something about, referred to his shoulder chip when he was in Vegas during the Pro Bowl Skills Challenge. When he was just hitting every target. And he basically was talking about how, well, I guess, not good enough for here. I mean, you know that. That's for sure.
Well, but look, Rich, I guess I would say this in defense of Josh McDaniels and the Raiders. Mm-hmm. First of all, Derek Carr disappeared for the last 2 weeks of the season. And I doubt sincerely that was with Josh McDaniels' blessing. Okay? So that's one thing. The second thing is he didn't throw for over 315 yards in any game last year. In the first game that Jarrett Stidham plays against the best defense the Raiders faced all year, he threw for 360. So I understand that Derek Carr is unhappy. And I saw him the other day, and I think one day he's going to have a lot to say about what happened there, but not right now. But I also think, look, the performance, for whatever reason, was a lot lower than everybody thought. And if you watch that Steelers game, I think that was Christmas Eve, you watch that Steelers game, you say, I think McDaniels was totally justified in benching him.
Well,
but,
I mean,
we'll see.
If you watch that Steelers game, you'll be marveling at the play-by-play call. That's for sure, because
Rich Eisen on Christmas Eve, baby.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I was there. I was in the booth, and I couldn't believe that Carr threw the interceptions, and had no idea though that he'd be sent home. But so, are you saying that Carr being sent home, was his own doing? Or
I don't think he got. I mean, look, my gut feeling is, all I'm saying is, I do not know what happened, Rich.
Right.
I would just be surprised if the Raiders sent him home. Okay, that would surprise me because you're trying to win the last two games, whether you're going to make the playoffs or not.
Right.
And Derek Carr had great knowledge of that offense. And I just think Josh McDaniels would have thought, well, if he is of a right mind, he could help Jarrett Stidham prepare for this game. And he wasn't there. So maybe one day we'll find out exactly what happened.
Peter, you are the man. Let's talk in another couple weeks. Love reading your stuff and always chopping it up with you. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks a million, Rich. You take care.
The man, Peter King, Hall of Famer, at Peter_King, must follow right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.